Good day, my name is Christel from Frans de Klerk Independent Technical Analysts. Info wanted us to look at Pick and Pay. We can see that since about April 2018, every time the share bounced, it just pulled back to lower levels and lower highs are clearly visible. But since August, September, the share has managed to find a support there around 41 Rand 12 and gave a beautiful rally towards 56 Rand, ran out of steam again, and now it's a matter of how low can it go? Where will it find the next support? At the moment, info, there is a beautiful inverse head and shoulder formation. And I need to call it a possible inverse head and shoulder formation because the neckline needs to be confirmed. And that is waiting at 56 Rand and 3 cents. We can see that the left shoulder of Pick and Pay is waiting there at 47 Rand 17. So the question is, will it go back to 47.17 or even before that level manage to find support and bounce? I want to draw this inverse head and shoulder for you, and you can see there's a left shoulder, a head, a first right shoulder, and if it manages to find support anywhere and starts to bounce, we can call this a possible second right shoulder. However, the formation will only be confirmed when that 56 Rand and 3 cents changes into a support. And then the question is, what is the target of this inverse head and shoulder formation? I'm going to use the first conservative target. It's the length of one of the shoulders, left or right, projected upwards from where it will be confirmed on the neckline, which means Pick and Pay can go back to 64 Rand 52. The full target of the formation is the length of the head projected upwards from the neckline where the formation will be confirmed, which means that Pick and Pay can go back to 70 Rand 76. The optimism around this formation will only become obsolete when the left shoulder or wherever the right shoulder finds support starts to change into a resistance. And at the moment, it is waiting at around 47 Rand 17. Take note, info, there is a negative divergence. My stochastic is coming from overbought levels, so a pullback was expected. Traders clearly have taken some profit, and now the question is, when will the buyers become stronger and start to support this share? Also take note that red line, critical level for long-term investors. As soon as that level changes into a support, the long-term sentiment towards the share will change to positive, and below it, it will remain negative. But you can see here, info, time and time again, Pick and Pay managed to keep the red line, the 40-week moving average, a support for a couple of sessions, but there was just not enough buyers, and the pullback towards the downside continue. Let's hope that the share manages to change that 51 Rand 89, and that's where my 40-week moving average is waiting, into a support once and for all, and keep it a support until it reaches that target as I've given through for the inverse head and shoulder formation. Brian wanted us to look at a share listed on NASDAQ called Microstrategy, ticker MSTR. We can clearly see a massive lamp ball formation. Brian, there was a massive spike. I mean, if I can give you the percentage from where this cup and handle formation was confirmed, this share already rallied 170%. And I want to go back and I really hope that you bought on this cup and handle formation. And look how beautiful the optimism of that cup and handle formation was also confirmed around $132.42, which is almost exactly where my red line, that 40-week moving average, was waiting. And I mean, once that cup and handle formation was confirmed, it was just higher levels to the upside. And now I also want to just take your attention to this window. Now, you get two types of windows: fundamental windows that comes when the capital structure of the company has changed through unbundling, rights issues. But you also get emotional windows where shocking news, good or bad, makes investors either buy the share more or sell it off. And the rules around windows are they always get closed. It can take days, months, weeks, or even decades. But at some stage, the share needs to pull back and close this gap. And remember, these are weekly graphs. So a window on a weekly graph weighs very heavily. So at the moment, we can see there's a long tail at the top of that candle, which means this is a possible shooting star candle. So on Friday's close, if the candle still has a long upper tail, and next week it is followed by a bearish type of candle, we can maybe see that the top of this share might be in place if the bearish candle confirms the shooting star. Then we can assume that the momentum to the top will continue again when the high of $358.94 changes into a support again, because then this level becomes a support and it can go even higher. The share will only warn when the low at $299 and on the spot actually changes into a resistance again and the share moves into the window. Brian, also take note, sometimes when a share starts or the price action starts to move into a window, you sometimes get a lot of volatility. It's almost like being on a boat in stormy waters. It maybe can, the fight between the buyers and sellers becomes often very fierce within a window. But if you are a shorter term trader, you maybe should go back to daily graphs, because long-term investors should look at weekly graphs. And maybe then you can get a better support or resistance level. And you can see that last week's low has already been taken out because this week's low has pierced it. And more importantly, this is an example of a beautiful gravestone doji candle. Long tail at the bottom, at the top, almost no real body, and a small tail at the bottom. Followed by a doji type of candle. Remember, this candle is not, it is finished because this is closing prices. So at the moment, this daily graph is already telling me that sellers have taken profit. And again, you can use the low of this candle, 299, as a protection level and the high of 358.94 to assume the momentum to the top can continue. So often traders ask the question, where do we take profit? Where do we know where to take profit? I always use the analogy of eating a cake. If you can't eat a cake every day, you'll become a diabetic and worse will happen. But if you eat a slice of cake every day, you will gain weight. And the only thing you want to happen to your account is to gain weight. So take the easy money. Eat the slices. And before you know it, your account grow very quickly. There's a myth that you are going to be able to buy the share at the bottom and sell it at its highest top. And that's just a myth, because sometimes price action news, fundamentals, and an overreaction from investors takes the share into a direction, and then the best thing you should do is not look back. So once you've taken profit, don't look back, wait for the share to become oversold again, buy it when there's a beautiful confirmation of a candle, and then ride the upside again. At the moment, with those long tails, Brian, I would consider taking profit on the share, assuming that you've got it already at the moment. Stephen wanted us to look at Exxaro. On our local JSE, Stephen, we can see this. The share has already bounced, and this support here, followed by that beautiful bullish engulfing candle, was the first confirmation that the buyers started to protect the share from oversold levels when that stochastic bounced with higher lows, and the two lines, my K and D line, broke one another to the upside. But if I zoom out a little bit, we can see clearly that there is also a possible inverse head and shoulder formation on Exxaro, and I want to draw these shoulders and the head to for you. So we can see there's one left shoulder, two bigger, touch the neckline, and remember my shoulders has to touch the neckline in order to confirm it as a possible shoulder. Massive head, first a right shoulder, and it looks like it might be building on the second right shoulder. Also take note that the right shoulders here, the lows here, are very close to where the support was on this left shoulder here, and it tells you that that 110 level is a critical support level, that every time the share pulls back, there's buyers, enough of them to lift the share to higher levels. Now the big next resistance that needs to be overcome is waiting at that neckline, and that is waiting at 145 Rand and 5 cents. When that level changes into a support, the optimism around that inverse head and shoulder formation will be confirmed, which will tell you that it's confirmed and it's a done deal, and maybe it can take resistance, find resistance and pull back again, but then you can almost be, when that level changes into a support, the optimism is confirmed. And what is the target again? Left or right shoulder projected upwards can take Exxaro back to 179 Rand 39. you can clearly see, and then obviously the full target will be the full length of the head. But also, just want to correct myself there, it can find resistance and you can have multiple right shoulders on an inverse head and shoulder formation. But also take note what the share is doing around that 40-week moving average. It has been, since that week of the 21st of September, it has been fighting that 40-week moving average that is waiting at 122 Rand 71. As long as that level remains a support, the long-term sentiment is positive. So at the moment, you can maybe use these lows as stop loss levels, 105.93, or if once the share bounces and comes close to the neckline, your 40-week moving average can be used as a protection level. I like this graph. I think this is a beautiful inverse head and shoulder formation. My 40-week moving average needs to remain a support. But I also want to just take your attention, the market has rallied a lot and there might be some profit taking, and with record highs on the US, if they do not continue, we won't be able to go further to record highs. So if this share starts to do this, lower highs will be confirmed. So once these support levels changes into a resistance again, my inverse head and shoulder formation will be wiped off the table, and then the share will start to warn again. So critical levels there around 110 that you can use as protection for your Exxaro graph. Don't forget to send through your questions for next week's show. Have a fantastic week. Take care.